Okay, hello, good afternoon. I'm Daniel de la Cruz and I'm going to talk about implementing feature toggles in React-based application. First of all, I'm going to talk about me a little. This picture is before having kids, so this is the result of it. Yeah, I've been more of 10 years developing web applications, some of them with loads of traffic. I also like to code in JS and C#. I'm currently working as a tech lead in typeform.com. And if you want to come after this talk just to talk to me, I like to play video games, so you have a nice topic to start talking with me. Also, you can find my Twitter profile and my GitHub profile if you want to stalk me. So, feature toggle. What is a feature toggle? How many of you knows what is a feature toggle? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Okay, a lot of you knows what it is. So if you have read probably the definition of Martin Fowler, basically a feature toggle is a technique, a powerful technique that he says that allows a teams to change some behavior in production without releasing any code. So this part to not release any code is something tricky and is something that we forget when implementing feature toggle, and this is the key of implementing successfully a feature toggle. So here we have an example. Let's imagine a calculation algorithm that is implemented as it is, and it's not perfect for you, and you want to change it. You can do two things. Do a big refactor and change everything and release it, and then cross your fingers and go on holidays and see what happens. Or you can do it in a safer way, implementing, for example, a feature toggle. This is a very, very naive implementation of a feature toggle. Basically, you have some boolean that says you if you are on the new algorithm or not, and then you make a statement to decide if you want to use the enhanced version or the current version. But if you want to change this behavior in production, you have to do a release. You have to release some code and commenting this and setting this flag to true, and you don't want to do this because you don't want to do releasing when something goes wrong in production. So that's the trick of implementing a feature toggle. Typically, you have like a function that asks somewhere else a safer place if the feature toggle is active or not. It may be an API, a server, a file in a CDN, wherever that is outside your code. This function typically asks to this repository is the feature toggle is toggle or not, if it's active or not, and then toggles over the new function or the old function. Also, when we talk about feature toggles, we also talk about the toggle routers. Toggle router is basically a configuration that tells you which feature toggles are active or not. You can implement it, and then in your code you can ask to it if a feature is active, and also you can provide some configuration because you may want to have a feature toggle, for example, that change some text in your code, some styles, anything that you can imagine, and anything that it's tied to this toggle. So why would you like to use feature toggle? Here is some inspiration from the product's perspective. If you are lean thinkers, if you are following a lean startup approach in your company, you may want to put the learning first when releasing something. So you don't want to do a big design, a big feature without learning from your users first. So if you want to learn, if you want to get some data about how your users are using your features, a feature toggle is a nice technique to have. A feature toggle may help you, for example, to do A/B testing. For example, well, I'm missing a slide. Oh, okay, it's here. A/B testing, for example, to show a couple of variations of a same feature and see what is the version that the users are using the most. For example, we used feature toggles in Fotocasa, which is the company that I was working before, to decide a lot of things about the classified cards that we were using to the real estate advertisement. For example, in the version on the left is the old one, and the version on the right is the right one. We introduced it, for example, a slider. We changed the background. We changed the typography. All of this was toggled with a feature toggle, and this is something useful because you learn by toggling new features. For example, at Typhon, which is the company that we are using now, we are doing A/B testing or feature toggles for deciding which is the most appropriate page for the candidates to pay when the customers are subscribing to our Pro product. This is the page that they see, and we may want to improve and optimize the call to actions in this page. So we may want to use a feature toggle here. This is the new version that we are seeing, and this is the current version, and we may measure which one performs the best. Another use case that we are using for a feature toggle is the version 2 of the platform, of Typhon. This is a switch that you may find in the admin panel, and if the toggle is active, the new version, which is totally new, is showing to the user, and you can test it before releasing it. It is really useful for doing canary releasing. So when you are trying to implement a feature toggle in React-based applications, you have some challenges. The first one is how to implement a feature toggle in a single-page application. Typically, when you have a feature toggle, you rely on a backend, and this backend decides which is the right view to show to the user, and it is pretty easy to make this decision in a backend world because you have more tools to it. But if your users are living in a single-page application, a lot of stuff happens on the client, and you have to make this decision on the client. Another challenge that you may have to face is how to keep my code clean. When we saw the previous example, we have some branching in the code, and if you start doing this in your production code base, you may end with an ugly code base full of feature toggles that nobody after that remembers to remove, and this is kind of tricky. To keep your code base clean. And the third one is, how do I make feature toggles work in universal apps? For example, in apps that are being rendered on the server, and when you send to the client and it re-renders, it has to show the same feature toggle that was decided on the server. So these are the three challenges that we had when I was working on Fotocasa, and we came up with a library that is open source and you can use, which is React Feature Toggle. This is a universal library that just helps you to implement feature toggles. It's a really simple library, and which is more important about how to implement it is the patterns that you follow that using this library, because this library just doesn't do everything for you. It just helps you to make your code clean, to make a feature toggle in a universal app, and also to make it work in a single-page application. So when we designed this, what we wanted to do is just avoid having the feature toggle code across all the component hierarchy of my application. So we only have to implement in the entry point of the application to provide the toggles, and also in the component of the hierarchy that is triggering the feature toggle. This is really powerful because if you only have to change, for example, one button or one copy or one small component like a card that I showed before, you don't have to contaminate the full tree of components of your application. So these are the features which I already talked about. How do you use it? First of all, the first step is just create your components and its variation. For example, if you are creating a card, you may want to test it with 3 different backgrounds to see which color is more engaging for your users. If you start doing this, you just create these 3 components as if you were not implementing any feature toggle. These components are production ready. So it means that if one of them wins in your test, you just have to use it and delete the other components from your code base. This is a suggestion about how to organize your component folder tree. Typically, I like to have an index folder and then an index in the root of the folder and then a folder for every variation. This allows me just to have no branching in my code. When I just decide with my feature toggle that the variation B, for example, is the winner, I just remove the other folders and my code is clean. So in the index file in the root of my folder, I import all the variation and I wrap all of them in a toggle component. Toggle component is just a simple class that provides the React feature toggle library and just receives the feature toggles from the entry point of the application and decides which of these variation is going to be shown to the user. I'm going to explain the technical details about this toggle component later, but just stick with me that in the index, in the root of the toggle component, you are doing this. The fourth step is just use your component normally. If you are using a card, for example, all the components in the middle of the hierarchy doesn't have to be aware that you are using a feature toggle. For example, if you have a card list, this card list doesn't realize about anything that happens inside the card. Fifth step is to define your experiments. We were defining a JSON file and serving from a static repository to show which were the experiments running in our application. For example, which is important here is to have the variations array, and in this variations array I inform which are the variations currently active in my application. Another thing that was useful is this force property that we were using to decide which was the winner. When we were activating a feature toggle, we were measuring it with a monitoring tool, and we were seeing the interactions in every of the variation. When we decided which one was the winner, we just uploaded this JSON file to this static repository by forcing the winner version, and we didn't have to release any code until the next release. We didn't have to release any code just for a feature toggle winning. The sixth step is to create a strategy to decide which toggle are you going to use. This is also important because if a user ends up in your application, you may always want to show that user the same variation. If he returns after a while, you don't want to show him another variation. So this is where strategy is important. You may want to implement this strategy as you want. It is free to you. It is not related with the library. But which is important is the output of this strategy. The output should be the actual toggles object that uses your application. Every request needs a toggles object to decide which of the variations I need to show to the user. So with this strategy, you typically go through the variations array in the experiments object and decide which one are you going to show. And the strategy is up to you. You may want to use a user unique identifier or a random approach or whatever you want to use, but you need to output something like this. Then in the end, as a last step, in the entry point of your application, you just wrap your application with a toggle app, which is the other module provided by the library, and you provide your app with the toggles object that you decide using the strategies. Yeah, this is about the strategies. I already talk about this. What about universal apps? Which is tricky about universal apps is, as I said, that you have to make the same decision in the server and in the client. When you run your code in the server to render to string your application, the decision needs to be the same that it is going to be in the server. So for performing this, the library provides a universal module that allows you to inject the toggles object into your markup, which is the same approach that other isomorphic or universal libraries do. This is, for example, based on React Transmit, which is exactly the same approach. The result of this module is just a markup in your page with the toggles object already decided with the strategy, and then on client code, instead of providing the result of the strategy, you just point to the window.card toggles object. So how does it work? This is the most important thing. You may think, how does it work? It's just magic. Sorry, I just wanted to put this GIF in the presentation. Yeah, the two utilities that the library offers you, toggle component and toggle app, are just higher order components. This is interesting because with a higher order component, you just can grab your components without modifying the actual code. If you see the, I'm going to show it later, but if you see the card code, it doesn't receive anything about toggles object or anything related with toggles. It just receives props, the props that it needs to be rendered. This component is production ready. And then this is why I want to wrap it with a higher order component, with something that is not agnostic to what is going to be rendered. And it is useful for any type of component. So the toggle app just assigns the toggle object to the context, and this is how I am able to pass all the toggles object across the component tree. And with the toggle component, I just read this object from the context, just check if some of the components passed by parameter matches with the name of the toggle, and then make the decision to show it or not. Also, if the toggle has properties, for example, or it assigns to the properties of the toggle component. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to show some code. I don't know if it's worth, I can show it if you ask me, but also this is the GitHub repo. And this is a demo page of this. This is the GitHub repo, sorry. Which is open source. You can open issues here or just give me feedback about it. And it has also a demo page, which is this. This one, these are the cards that I'm using in a hypothetical application, and the strategy that I used here to decide which component to toggle was a random approach. And when I hit refresh, it is going to show me, well, I wasn't lucky. Come on, that's it. So it is going to show me just another of the three approaches. It has three variations, one with different background and another one with yet another background, but overwriting the props. Let me see if I'm lucky. Yeah, random. Okay, come on. Yes, this is toggling the titles and the description. That's pretty much it. You may never want to do a random strategy in production. This is just for showing how it works. What I usually like to do is to use something deterministic of the user, like the ID or a unique user ID or something that you may have to identify that user and always send the same variation to it. So I think that's it. Questions? I don't know. Just go ahead.
At the microphone, do you use this library in conjunction with third-party A/B test tools like Visual Web Optimizer?
Yes, we are not using it in Typeform yet, but it is being used. Sorry, I didn't repeat the question. The question was if we are using this library in Typeform or not, right? In conjunction with other A/B testing tools, yes. No, we are not using it in Typeform yet because we are doing just internal releases, but it is being used in Photocasa, which is my previous company, and we did it all the tooling by ourselves. We didn't use with another tools. That's it. but it is independent on which tool do you use to do the feature toggle. I mean, this only allows you to, given some decision that is made somewhere, provide your application with a toggle subject and make your code killing. That's it.
I was just wondering about how you have like the metrics to measure the success.
Yeah, the metrics. This library doesn't provide you any tool for doing the metrics, but in Photocasa they use Elasticsearch and Kibana, but you can use anything you want. It is New Relic, Dynatrace, whatever you want. What else?
Can you please show a slide with the strategy example?
Yeah. Let me find it because I don't remember where is it. No, this is not it. I just want to show it again. Thing is. No. This one, okay.
So this is result of strategy function, right?
Yeah, this is the result of the strategy function.
It returns just object.
Yes, not yet.
Is the name of component.
The name of the variation, and the props are the props that this component is going to receive.
Just plain JavaScript object. The
Yes.
key is a string, but if we do some bundling or something like this, the string should match display name of component or.
Yes, that's interesting. Yes, I didn't explain that, but this yes, it has to match the display name of the component. This is the trick. You are right. You are so smart. I forgot about it. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, thank you.